Welcome into a Wednesday Hump Day edition of Daily Face-Off Live, streaming live on the DFO YouTube, and as always, a presentation of Bet365. Download the app today. Use the promo code NATION. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Huts, I know we've been joking a lot about your age recently, but did you see 44-year-old Philip Rivers getting the call back to the NFL? He hasn't played in 5 years.
Staying ready. You never know, buddy. I haven't really been on my skates a ton when it comes to goaltending, but you never know. Good for him. Like, that is wild too. As a QB, I guess you're smart enough and could see the game, but you're like one big hit away from ruining the rest of your life playing that sport.
I went and looked it up, Huts. You've played 16 NHL games since the last time Philip Rivers took a snap in the NFL. Isn't that insane? Apparently he's gonna be back. Like, they're assigning him to the practice squad. He's ready to go.
That's insane too. I know we're gonna get into that today with the goaltending woes, but James Reimer we talked about yesterday. I think a lot of guys. I might have to have my ringer on during the show here because if I get antsy, who knows? I might get the call.
Couple of teams with not enough good goalies, couple teams with too many good goalies. We're going to talk about that later on. Steve Peters is going to join us for our big segment. We're going to dig into the Central Division and its dominance over basically the rest of the NHL. But let's kick things off by talking about last night, Huts. There were two themes for the 10-game slate in the NHL. They were upsets and they were late tying goals. We can start out on Long Island, whereas the Vegas Golden Knights tying up their game against the Islanders with 14 seconds left. Pavel Dorofeyev on the doorstep, but the Golden Knights, they still lose in a shootout, so the Islanders get the 2 points. Let's go to Nashville, where it took the Colorado Avalanche until the 8-second mark to tie up their game against the Preds, just narrowly avoiding one of their few regulation losses this year, but the Preds still win in a shootout. We go to Edmonton, where the Oilers trailed 3-0 in the third. Connor McDavid, with 1.9 seconds on the clock, ties it up. But guess what? The Sabres still hold on and win the game in the first minute of overtime. It was Alex Tuch with the winner there. So we had three situations where a team tied up the game late to avoid a big upset, but they still lose in extra time. But this is the big one. Beckett Senek, the Ducks rookie, top 5 overall pick from a couple years ago. Not only does he score with under a second left, it's shorthanded, and the Ducks had the puck behind their own net, Huts, with like under 10 seconds to go, and Anaheim holds on for the win. One of the teams that ties it up late actually goes on to complete the comeback.
I know, insane, right? And those teams like are fragile teams too, right? You talk about Nashville Predators, you talk about the Buffalo Sabres finding a way to blow a lead late. Like, imagine being a Sabres player in that moment to rally and find a way to win in overtime is reassuring. But for the Pittsburgh Penguins, I will paint a picture. There was nothing better than the goalie with the lead late in a game when the opposing team took a penalty. It's like a sense of relief. Like, yes, you're still staying in it, but you're like, okay, it's not going to be 6-on-5. At best, it's going to be 5-on-5 when they pull their goalie. And to imagine the puck in the far zone, the offensive zone as the goalie, 10 seconds left, and next thing you know, they come down and they score on you. That is a humbling feeling. And then to go on to lose the game. So those ones sting, and it just goes to show you that every second is valuable and you have to stay in it right till the end.
Yeah, and it also, again, last night is a great reminder that as much as we sit here and talk about, who's playing well, who's playing poorly, all that stuff, it's still a league where anyone can beat anyone. Like I said, the Islanders beat the Golden Knights. The Oilers at one point were down 3-0 to the Buffalo Sabres in that game. And, the Penguins, by the way, put up 47 shots on goal in that one against the Anaheim Ducks. And I know they end up losing the game, which is maybe a compliment to a guy you talked about on Monday. Huts, Ville Husso stops 44 of 47 in that game.
Yeah, he's been unbelievable, right? And it's been the stopgap of what they needed during this time, right? And we're seeing this firsthand. This isn't like something new to the NHL where you have to have goalie depth and you have to have, because injuries happen, but it's about getting in there and taking advantage of the opportunity. And we're going to dive into that more and more as we go. But in these divisions, right, these points are valuable, right? You look at Pittsburgh and the way that points are laying out here, like, in 13th place right now in the Eastern Conference are the Columbus Blue Jackets with 32 points, and first place is 39 points. Like, so think of that separation of every point and how much value there is. And Pittsburgh's one of those teams, when we really break it down, you look at their record of how many games they've gone to overtime, with 7 of those losses being in overtime. If they were to pick up a few more wins here, they're sitting in a much better situation. So it's so fragile this early. It doesn't seem like, outside of the Colorado Avalanche, everyone just kind of seems status quo, right? Though I guess them and the Dallas Stars. Outside of that, it's just going to be an absolute dogfight here on out.
Yeah, there are only two teams in the NHL with north of 40 points on the year. They both reside in the Central Division. And the Avs last night against the Preds. Again, just the unpredictability of the NHL. The Avs had only lost or have only lost twice in regulation all year in 20, 30 games. The Preds have only won 7 of their 29 games in regulation this year, and they almost beat the Avs last night. It was a crazy night around the NHL. And one other, if you want to call it unpredictable game from last night, it certainly was from my perspective. Huts, I had the Habs on the puck line. They get absolutely smoked by the Tampa Bay Lightning, a 6-1 final, and goaltending is right at the center of the conversation. Sam Montembeault, in 15 games this year, Huts, has allowed the first shot that he's faced in 5 of them. 33% of the time, he's given up the first shot that he's faced. Yesterday, it came in a relief appearance. They had to pull Jakub Dobeš after the first period. We'll pull up the numbers here, Pat. Like, Huts, this is ugly in Montreal.
And it's fragile too. It's not just ugly, it's fragile. And this is a team where I've been in this situation before. When I was in St. Louis, I struggled and Jake Allen was having a really tough go. Ken Hitchcock held him back from a road trip at one point to not go. But you can feel the same energy on the bench, right? I've been the guy that's been playing well or the guy that's been playing bad. In this situation in Montreal, when you don't have trust in your goaltender to make saves, and Dobeš has been good, right? He was a really great story at the start of the year. And I circle back on him because I remember the game against the New Jersey Devils where they blew it late. They lost in overtime. They got the point, and he was like crying almost in his interview, like teary-eyed. And I'm like, from the professional standpoint, you have to learn to compartmentalize that side of the game. Like, hey, you get your window to be like upset and competitive and win, but you got to park it and move on, right? That is part about being a good goaltending. And right now they're not getting that, right? These games are lingering. This is getting into that Ilya Samsonov area for me with the Toronto Maple Leafs with Montembeault, where like he almost needs to be shipped down to Laval and like, hey, you're not even playing a game. You're just going down to train, to try to get better, to be where you're at, because this has been tough to watch. And it's Jacob Fowler time, rightfully so. I think this team is too good and in a good situation where they need to have some confidence. And this could be one of those situations where Jacob Fowler gets called up to the NHL and he may never see the AHL again, because this kid is the real deal. It's going to be a bit of an adjustment, but he's already got 3 shutouts in the AHL, which is even harder to do than in the NHL level, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, just the structure of the game. We've talked about that in the past. Jacob Fowler, the numbers are insane. You're looking this year at his numbers with Laval, 209 goals against average, 919 save percentage. In his final year at Boston College, he played 35 games and had a 940 save percentage. But here's where I'll throw a little bit of caution into this conversation. You have a kid who's 21 years old, who has played 26 total professional hockey games in his life, Huts. And right now, if you look at the last 10 games for the Montreal Canadiens and compare it to the last 10 games for every other team in the league, the Habs are giving up the second most expected goals against in the NHL. That is a comment on how many opportunities they're giving up and the quality of those opportunities. They are giving up so many good chances right now. There's a part of me that would go, man, what kind of situation are you throwing this kid into? Like, are you throwing him to the wolves? Are you potentially going to crater his confidence the way you cratered Dobeš's confidence over the last month?
Yeah, I think that is a worry, right? But in this, it feels like it's all hands on deck right now, right? We're a team where they are falling behind and the confidence is lacking. And again, it was a big win. It's not far removed from Dobeš playing very well against the Toronto Maple Leafs and winning that game. But that being said, they need to find a way to do it. And I think you have to tread gently here, right? I think you have to do feelers. I don't think he comes in and just plays every single game, right? You don't want to overdo it. But maybe a shot in the arm, maybe a little bit of confidence does that. And nothing to take away from Dobeš. I feel like he's surely capable of coming back and playing well. But the difference from playing a game a week to playing 3 games in a week is a big difference at the NHL level. So it will be interesting. I know they have some goalie depth in that department, but it is worrisome. Like you're saying, we've seen the NHL rush guys and ruin a lot of guys. They have Kaapo Kähkönen, who's had a little bit more NHL experience. I think he's serviceable, but I think everybody in Montreal, and they kind of owe it to the fans to at least give this guy a game here for a little bit of display of what he can do.
Yeah, and even just to, maybe add some energy, not just to the fan base, but to the team as well, right? Like, is that maybe a little bit of a rallying point for some guys in that room who, maybe they aren't going to come out and say that, yeah, the goaltending's deflating us, but Montembeault has had a pretty ugly trend of giving up some goals and some weak ones at that at really, really inopportune times. Like, even going back to last night, he comes in the relief appearance in the second period. The game's, you're down 3-0, but like, you can erase a 3-0 deficit. It happened last night in other games in the NHL, but then he gives up the first one and it's kind of over. So I wonder if this can maybe be a rallying point for the guys in the room where it's like, all right, we have this 21-year-old now playing in net. Like, we got to shape up here and play strong in front of him.
Yeah, for sure. I think that is an important factor, right? We see that all the time where, certain goalies go into situations and teams rally around it. And not that they don't rally around Sam or Dobish or where it's at, but time after time, if you're not getting those timely saves and it's like defleeting to a team that is deflating. I don't know where defleeting came from, but that is like a situation where it's a long year and you need things to rally around. You need things to push. So I do like this opportunity. And again, I think you're kind of owed to the fans to try to make a push, to try to get something going in that sense. So I don't think the jump is as bad as you think as it used to be, because he does have relationships with Hudson. He has relationships with Caulfield. This is a guy that's played on the big stage. So it'll be nice to see. And then the fact that he's doing well in the American League helps, but the AHL ain't the NHL, that's for sure.
Yeah, we got a comment here from Con Mucho who said, it's off topic, but can't stop thinking about how Edmonton let Colton Ellis, Nico Daws, and Brandon Bussi all go through waivers. Why don't teams snag more waiver wire between the preseason and the regular season? Well, the answer to that is, and it ties in perfectly to our kind of third topic here, it's because then teams get stuck with 3 goalies. Like, no one goes into the year being like, you know what we should do? Have one NHL goalie in our system and then just pray that hopefully someone falls into the waiver wire. Like, that's not how teams operate throughout the summer. And now you sit and look, like, the Habs are going to put themselves in a position where there are 3 goalies on their NHL roster, and they have the easy out of Jacob Fowler doesn't need waivers. They can put him back down at any point. I don't think, I'm double checking, but yeah, Dobish doesn't need waivers either. They could put Dobish back in Laval for a week or two and let him try to find his game a little bit. But they're also not alone in the sense of Vegas is going to be at a point when Adin Hill comes back that they're going to have Akira Schmid and Carter Hart and a healthy Hill, and they're going to have to expose Schmid to waivers. Toronto's at a point where Hildeby's playing awesome. Once Stolars and Wall come back, do they have a decision to make if Hildeby is still the hot hand? Again, he doesn't need waivers, but the 2 that are really, really interesting to me, Huts, are Buffalo, who have 3 guys, all of which need waivers to go down, and Carolina, who have Anderson and Kochetkov, who've both been great at points over the last 2 years, but neither one of them stay healthy all that consistently. Then you have Brandon Bussi, who's putting up great numbers, and it's like, well, I'm sure they don't want to expose him to the waiver wire again.
Yeah, that's the most concerning one for me, is a team that has a chance to actually do something in the playoffs, right? When you talk about the Carolina Hurricanes and where they're at, and then you look at Freddie Anderson and for how good he's been, it's been that playoff woes throughout his career and then staying healthy, right? And Kochekov's been awesome, but you can't ignore the fact that Brandon Bussi is 9-1 and he's a waiver pickup. He finds ways to win games, and that is what you need on a team that doesn't really generate a ton of offense come playoff time, right? This is a team that's going to grind you down, but if you can get consistent goaltending from him, he becomes a guy that you really want to keep around. And as for Buffalo, it's not as concerning in my opinion, because at the end of the day, if you lose Ellis and you lose Lyon, you're still a long way away from being a winning team, right? Those guys are replaceable in that sense. I think UPL still has upside. He's still pretty young if he isn't a trade target. But that being said, like, if one of these guys was to claim off waivers, what's changed is in Buffalo. You're still at this point where you're in this muddy middle where you don't really have a team that is pushing to make the playoffs. So there is some tough decisions to go around. And what I will tell you, as a goalie who's been in a 3-unit cycle, it sucks, right? You want your minutes, you want to play. And then all of a sudden you go from playing one game and next thing you know, in practice, you're sharing the net with a guy and you can barely get your reps in. So it is trick having the 3 goalie carousel in the NHL.
Yeah, the other thing that complicates the Buffalo thing is the fact that Devin Levi is sitting in their system, right? So you have a 26-year-old UPL, you have a 25-year-old Colton Ellis. If you view those 2 guys as your future tandem, because again, 26, 25 years old, then Alex Lyon's the odd man out. So like, just move on from him would be, I think, the easy decision there. If there's one team that I could see doing the 3 goalie thing all year, Huts, I actually do think it's Carolina, just because like they've been sunk in the past by either one of Anderson or Kochetkov not being able to stay healthy. Like, Anderson's 36, pending UFA at the end of the year. Kochetkov's got another year left on his deal. He's 26 years old. Like, you're not touching Pyotr Kochetkov. He's going to be there for a while. Bussi, you might view him as kind of the heir to that Freddie Anderson spot on your roster where, like, do you want to bring back a 37-year-old Freddie Anderson next year? Or do you just grind it out this year with all 3 guys and say, you know what? will bite the bullet. Yes, it sucks for these three guys and potentially their careers, but as an organization, you know now that going into next season, you're going to have Kochetkov and Bussy in the mix, and you're good to go.
Yeah, I think that's important too. And the other thing that I think about a lot that doesn't really get brought up is, okay, so Bussy is 27 years old, right? And it's almost like he's past his prime in people's eyes, but he's not. He's a goalie, and it takes time. And it's the same thing with UPL. You can make that argument at 26. Like, I think back to my career, like I made the league at 26, went on to play a bunch of years and was serviceable and had good years. Like, there is the fact that some of these guys take more time. We're in such a rush to get guys going. And with goaltending, look at Devin Levi too. Like, he probably would have benefited from being in the minors longer, right? Jacob Fowler, we're going to be in this situation, but it might take a guy 4, 5, 6 years to really become that guy that he needs to between his ears. Yes, physically, the attributes of the talent is there, but that goes out the window when we watch, like, Sam Montembeault is a great, goalie. He's obviously talented, but mentally he's struggling right now, and it kills you. So rushing guys isn't important as it is like making sure they're ready when they get the opportunity.
Yeah. All right. There's some interesting comments in our YouTube chat on that. We'll maybe get to that after our big segment, but let's get out to the film room. It's brought to you by Uber Eats. Uber Eats is assisting every fan's hockey experience all season long, allowing them to maximize their fandom with exclusive game day deals on the app. From game day eats to all the ingredients you need to make your favorite game day dip, you can find it at Uber Eats. Always a pleasure to be joined by Steve Peters from inside the coaches room. And Petey, today we are talking about the Central Division. You heard me earlier about the Colorado Avalanche, the Dallas Stars. They're the only two teams with north of 40 points so far in the regular season, and both of them are right on the doorstep of getting to 50. But I want to start with Colorado. They're so damn good, but it's too easy to just say, well, it's Nate and it's Makar and it's their superstars that push them. Like, what else makes this Avs team so damn good?
Yeah, I think with the Avalanche, it is more than their top stars. However, their top stars are their top players right now. And when your top players need to be your best players on your team, but Colorado is doing everything right now. It's not just offensively. They're scoring more goals per game than any other team in the league. It's the other side of the rink. This is a team that always is going to score. They're fast through the neutral zone. They play fast. They get pucks to the net. They're good around the blue paint. But this team is defending. And that's something you go out a year ago, they were 12th in goals against per game. They were 2.82. Now they're first. And part of that is Wedgie and the wedge wall, and Wedgwood has been playing above what he traditionally plays. His numbers have been great. He gets injured. Blackwood comes back. So their goaltending has been very good. But when you go to the film on what the Colorado Avalanche do well, it's all of the little things. It is their high-skilled players, but you look at the movement that this team has in their offensive zone and their ability to get to the net. We talked about Edmonton's ability to move, but they never found their way back to the front of the net. Same with Toronto. But you see this Colorado Avalanche team, they have all this movement, but they find a way to get to the net. And this is what's driven their offense. It's not just their third and fourth line guys that get to the net. It's their top line. And you look at every guy on that top line, Necas, Lagenen, and McKinnon, this is the top line in hockey right now. 5-on-5 goals scored. They're number one. Why? Because they find open areas in the slot. But secondarily, they get there. This is a team that doesn't play on the perimeter. They move around enough to create those openings, and then they get to the net. And we look at Nelson here. He's another key factor. They're getting secondary scoring because Brock Nelson knows how to play the right way. He plays on the right side of the puck. He gets to the blue paint, gets to the net consistently. The second line with Landeskog and Nelson helps that secondary scoring, and they know how to get to the net. And then it's Makar. It's always Makar. Like he's the best offensive defenseman in the National Hockey League, but Burns is pitching in. He's a guy that, hey, he's not going to be as active from the back end, but he moves. But this team lives on their speed. We talked about that with Edmonton. We talked about it with Toronto, but this team is finishing off of the rush, and it's everybody because everybody knows what to do. You drive the net. You drive the net off of the rush. They always have a middle lane drive, so they have the late option. They always have a middle lane drive, so you can get that puck to that player. This team is playing exceptionally well on both sides of the puck, and you see them defending. They are quick. They use their speed to keep their opponents to the outside. And you do see teams that are offensively quick that don't carry that over into the defensive side of the puck. But Colorado doesn't let teams get to the inside. And that's one of the reasons their goaltenders are playing so well. No tips, no rebounds, no second chance opportunities because they're keeping them to the outside. And now it's one funny thing that they're struggling with is power play. This is a team with the stars they have on this power play. They're 24th in the power play, but that's going to turn around. They're first in power play shots. They're 27th in power play shooting. One of those things is going to eventually even out. This team is going to get better on the power play. They just struggled to get rebounds in those second chance opportunities. They're 21st in rebound shots from the slot area, and that's going to get better. This team right now is checking every single box, and that's why they're leading the National Hockey League.
You know what, Petey, that's scary when you say about their power play struggles, right? Because you got to think at some point that gets going, and how does that just push them over the top? Now, Dallas. Is Dallas close? Are they still right with them? Like, how far is this gap when you talk about the Dallas Stars versus Colorado Avalanche?
You know, it's funny with the Dallas Stars, they're a team that's got points in 10 straight. And a lot of the things we said about Colorado, you can say about Dallas. Their balanced scoring, their goals for is top 5, goals against top 5, power play top 5. When you put those 3 categories and their PK is top 10, you put all of that together, it's a good hockey team. And it's a balanced hockey team. One thing I worry about with Dallas is what we saw a year ago with Dallas down the stretch, is their ability to continually defend in front of their goaltender. They left Ottinger out to dry over that last 10 games a year ago, and it really carried into the playoffs. We saw this Dallas team. It is going to come down to Dallas and Colorado again. And it's so disappointing that you're going to see those two teams not meet in the Western Finals, but they're going to meet probably in the second round again, and somebody's going to be gone. And it's too bad, because I think Dallas is getting there. They're close. If Ottinger can be the difference, is the team that can beat the Colorado Avalanche. But right now in a 7-game series, Colorado wins it. Dallas is right there, but I think all of the intangibles I think are in favor of the Colorado Avalanche. But the Dallas Stars checks all the boxes that we talked about. Goal differential, which I think is the biggest metric for making the playoffs. Dallas Stars are second, and they're second behind Colorado. These two teams score and they defend. You put those two things together and you're going to have success.
So now for the third place team, the Minnesota Wild, who are, a big tier down, right? When you look at the points, you look at the team chasing them, they have 37. The next place team is 30 with the Hawks. They feel like that third place team, but are they a big tier down when you compare them? I know they've had great goaltending from, both their guys.
We talked about this team a lot, and I think the Minnesota Wild, once losing the contracts of Parise and Suter, I really expected them to spread the wealth and try to pick up role players that filled up and down their lineup. They didn't do that. They put all of their money into one bank with Kaprizov, and this team is top heavy. Kaprizov and Boldy are the guys that drive this bus, and right now it is that goaltending and Jesper Wallstedt that has been above average, much above what his numbers show as what Wallstedt is over his career. He is way overshooting his skis right now. And the last start, he gave up 4 goals and 20 shots. I don't think he's that, but I also don't think he's a guy that gets 4 shutouts in 10. I think you're going to see him come back down to earth a little bit, and that's going to have Minnesota in a little bit of disarray. But to your point, Hutz, the reality is, the teams below them, you look at Utah, Chicago, I think they are not going to be able to catch Minnesota. And the team that I think is probably better than Minnesota has really struggled without Hellebuck. And the Winnipeg Jets are 3-6-1 without Hellebuck, giving up 3 or more goals in 6 of their last 10. I think if they have a healthy Hellebuck, I think that boosts your locker room. You score more when you feel good about your goaltending. Everything just goes better when the goalie's playing well. And I think Winnipeg could challenge Minnesota, but they're going to have a big turnaround when Hellebuck comes back.
I want to switch gears a little bit here and lean on your past as a video coach. Every year, it seems like there's one storyline that kind of grabs our attention early in the season. Last year was goalie interference. For 2 months, we were all sitting here going, what the hell is goalie interference? This year, it is apparently glove passes. We have had 3 in the last week. We had 1 last night in the Edmonton-Buffalo game that have caused some coaches to absolutely explode. Cooper went off in his postgame. Lindy Ruff did again last night. What do you make of these plays with the hand passes that are resulting in goals getting called back?
Well, one of the things that we do as video guys around the league is we go on precedent. And when you set a precedent by the National Hockey League, when you see something, that helps prompt your call for the next time your team faces that situation. And right now, the bar was set with the Hagel hand pass. And that's where this started a week ago. And if you want to roll the film, and we could see where it hits Hagel. I still think Hagel's defending himself, just like Cooper said. This takes 13 seconds to go from that until this puck goes in the net. Now, when you read the letter of the law, did it help Tampa Bay gain an advantage to help them create this goal? I don't think it's intentional. I think it's debatable. And did that help get this an advantage to their team? Yes, they get the puck next, but does it create an actual advantage for the Tampa Bay Lightning? I think Hagel's protecting his face. I really do. But if you want to call this as no goal, which ultimately happens, they don't allow this goal because it hits him in the hand. That means the next time I get to see this call as a video guy, when it goes off his hands and they get possession of the puck, you know what? I'm going to make that call. And when this few days later, you get this play that rolls to Florida with the Marchand play. Marchand's behind the net, comes up. He's intentionally trying to grab this puck and then ends up going in the net seconds later. 5 seconds. He's up. He gets his hand up. He tries to grab it. He pushes it forward. His teammate is the next guy to touch the puck. If I'm a video guy right now, I am absolutely 100% challenging this because of what I saw from Hagel just a few days prior. To me, if they don't allow this goal, everything is fine. Everything is fine, and everybody going into the Tuck situation from last night against Edmonton, everybody knows the standard. But now, as a video guy, I don't know the standard. I don't know what it is because I don't think either guy is necessarily a pass. I don't think he's knocking it to their player, goes off their glove, and their team gains possession. Make the same call consistently through the entire league, and then everybody's okay with it. If they don't allow the Marchand goal, I think we're fine. If you allow the Marchand goal, then you have to allow the Hagel goal because they're very, very similar. The Tuck one, to me, is the easiest of all. It's in the crease, off his hand, directly into the net. But to me, as a video guy, I want consistency by the league. And I know you're going to hear from referees, somehow this is different, it's an advantage. Or from the league, they're going to say, well, it's a different advantage. But it's not. It hits their glove, it goes to their team, they score. I want that consistency as a video guy. I would be frustrated right now if the Marchand goal stands. That would make me very frustrated. And you saw that in the coaching staff, how frustrated they were.
Yeah, there was a whole bunch of it. And again, I urge people to go listen to Lindy Ruff after the game. I think he was well spoken on it. Petey, appreciate this insight. Appreciate you popping on. We'll do this again next week.
Thanks, guys. See you next week.
Huts, if I can get on my soapbox here a little bit for hashtag AskDFO, I feel like being able to review hand passes, like I tweeted it yesterday, even though the call went in favor of the Oilers, so you can imagine what my mentions were when I kind of said, like, I wish that goal would have stood. If it is such an egregious hand pass that results in a goal, the refs will call it. To me, like the Tuck one, he's kind of half moving in. He's kind of not, but like, is it a pass? Does it hit his hand? Does it hit his stick? I just feel like we're talking about so many quick little things that happen in a game. I hate that goals get taken off the board. It drives me nuts. We want more goals, not less.
Yeah, and we don't want to slow the game down too, right? Another review.
Yeah.
And even like the Hagel one, you could make the debate that like the play continues on for so long. At what point do we stop going back? That like, I know it initiates the play, but it's one of those ones where they still make so many plays for that play to break down, where it wasn't like it hit off Hagel right in front of the net, went back door, and they scored, right? So I'm with you too. The last thing we want to do is slow the game down and just, I know, trying to create some consistency across the board, like especially coming from like the video coach. That's a tough job too, because you're sitting in the back room, and if you don't get the call right, guys are coming off giving you the gears, like being like, what was that? That changed the game. So it's tough either way. Just to find some sort of, get rid of the gray area for me would be the best, obviously event, but I can't see that happening anytime soon.
No, we've opened up Pandora's box. You can't close it now. And the other thing, like, I mean, I get what people are saying with the Hagel one, where they're like, oh, it's 13 seconds. And some people have suggested with the offsides, they're like, oh, maybe you can only challenge it if a goal happens within 10 seconds of the missed offside or the missed hand pass. But then you get into a whole problem where it's like, okay, so you're allowed to hand pass then lead to a goal within 9 seconds. Like, we're going to be arguing 9.9 to 10.1 seconds. Like, it's such a fucking mess, man.
Yeah, it is. It is. I agree. And it was the same problem with goaltender interference. There was times post-career in media and times during my playing career where it's like, I was positive that was goalie interference, and it wouldn't be. And then like, it just, sometimes it's mind-blowing. You can see Dean Evanson's reaction to that. I don't know if you saw his post-game presser. He's like, this is an absolute joke. The game was a joke. It's a joke. Like, he was so upset about it, and rightfully so. You're going into this game, and that's a big swing point. They had a 4-2 lead. They go on to lose that game. It makes it 4-3, changes the whole dynamic of the game.
Yeah. Let's get to our daily bets for Bet365. Download the app today. Use the promo code NATION. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Pat, we're putting you on no more Oilers betting. Is that the rule?
Yeah, I think I decided. I told you for the rest of the year, in that sense, more just like 20 days here, because I think by the new year they'll probably figure it out. But I haven't had any luck betting on the Oilers, and honestly, I'm a little happy you guys felt a little bit too, because I've been feeling it all season.
We're still doing this segment? I thought we were done with this. This is killing me, boys. And I get the win last night. Dallas beats Winnipeg. You check the first box, right? I'm moving forward. Edmonton ties it with a second left. I was like, oh, this is great. 3-on-3 with two of the best players in the world. And what a loser.
Let's get to our picks for tonight. I'm eyeing up an over between Florida and Utah. Florida have been over machines, 13 total goals in their game against Columbus over the weekend, by the way. So lots of goals in these Panthers games as of late. Utah's goaltending burnt me once earlier in the week. I'm willing to say it won't burn me again. So give me over 6 between Utah and Florida. Pat?
Yeah, I'm sticking with the hot hand. This has worked for me so far this year. I'm going Mika Zibanejad 1+ point and Sam Reinhart 1+ point for +148. Both kind of have good matchups. New York's taking on Chicago, who's been slumping lately. Florida's taking on the Mammoth, who have been kind of in the middle all season long. But Zibanejad 9 points in his last 10 games. Sam Reinhart 8 points in his last 10 games. So I like both of those. What about you, Huts?
I am going to go with the Calgary Flames money line. I like them at home. I think Devin Cooley is playing well against the Wings. And then the other one, I'm going to jump to a road team, the Florida Panthers money line against the Utah Mammoth. Vejmelka, who's actually makes a lot of saves, though, so I worry about your little over bet, though. He's 1-5-1 in his career against Florida, so hopefully he goes to 1-6-1 to help me out a little bit.
And there you go, our daily bets for Bet365. Wrapping up the show with a little bit of garbage time. It was just a weird night last night in the NHL. There was kind of odd shit happening all over the place, including a goalie getting pulled by the concussion spotter in the middle of the shootout. Scott Wedgwood got the yank. Mackenzie Blackwood had to go in. One, you want to talk about delays. This definitely slows things down in a shootout, but here he is getting the word that he's done in the middle of the shootout.
Yeah, this is wild. This is a tough one. I've been thrown into situations like, during a game, but not in the shootout under these protocols. So I was talking to Pat a little bit. I don't know if we got the link, but I got nailed a few times during my playing days where I got absolutely smoked, and here's one right here. So watch this one. Tell me, watch this one. Provorov drives in that. Montour doesn't do me any favors here. He drives him into me, but I don't get pulled from this game. I end up in between periods being a bit of a mess, and then I end up, I think it's early in the second. So I didn't play the third period after this. I had a concussion. But how don't I get pulled and Scott Wedgwood gets pulled in that moment? So it's wild sometimes what you see and what you get with the concussion protocol.
I mean, you can tell you're hurting. You're doing the whole deep breath thing where your eyes are wide and you're exhaling. It's like, oh man, you got smoked.
Yeah, that's it. You're a position where you're watching the puck and someone's driving the net. I know there's another bad view of it too. Maybe we'll get that up for tomorrow. But but that's the cost of doing business at the goal. Here it is, right here. Here's one.
Oh, Jesus, man!
Good thing there was no long-term side effects of that, right?
Yeah, we hope. Well, if something like that. Oh, we have another one. How many times did you get hit in your career?
Well, this is me going out to play the puck, and Foligno sends me for a ride. So that's another one. We finished that game. We found a way to win it, but
that's good. If something like that happens to you when we're playing in Jasper in the pond hockey tournament, I'll shed them for you. I'll stick up for you.
That's what I wanted to hear. That's all I'm looking for is a little bit of TLC and support. I'm used to being a goalie. I don't fight. We got people to do that for me.
Except for that one time where you did fight. I mean, that's a whole nother story. But anyways, that's a wrap on today's edition of the show. Shout out to our guy, Petey, for swinging by. Everybody in the YouTube, you were great as always. Tomorrow, Dave Pagnotta is on the show. Friday, former NHLer Tyler Johnson joins the program as well. So a couple of great guests to round out our week. Enjoy your Wednesday, everybody, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow at noon Eastern. Hey, hockey fans, if you enjoyed that video, then make sure you hit the subscribe button right here on the Daily Face-Off YouTube. We have you covered for everything you need. Exclusive interviews on The Sheet with Jeff Merrick, all the latest hockey news on Daily Face-Off Live, and you can always get your morning started with Johnny Lazarus and Colby Cohn on Morning Cup of Hockey. Don't miss a minute. Hit that subscribe button.